This is going to be such a personal pleasure to welcome one of America's most interesting writer, producer, Imagineer. I know I'm going to get sued by Disney. What else do you do, Jeff Belanger, that you just do so absolutely beautifully? What do? You write books.
Yep.
And you also produce some of the most popular TV series like New England Legends, right?
Right, and Ghost Adventures on the Travel Channel.
And half of the shows that you see dealing with ghosts or paranormal, he laughs. All of those shows have had the fingerprint of Jeff Belanger.
Yeah, I guess somewhere along the way. I also make a mean salsa.
Do you?
I do.
Oh, my. You like cooking, huh?
If I had to do it every day, I wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
But sure, yeah, especially in the summer. The summer, the grill is my domain.
Oh, here too. Quick question before we talk about a phenomenal jump that you have taken. Do you like infrared grills or charcoal or gas, or do you have a preference, Jeff?
Yeah, I just go gas. It's quick and clean. I recognize that charcoal and wood, fantastic flavor. I just don't have the time.
Yeah. Why don't you have the time?
Didn't you just say? Writes books and podcasts and TV series.
And one of them.
I think we covered that, Phil.
And one of them is titled "The Call of Kilimanjaro: Finding Hope Above the Clouds." Just by its title, you had me. But what is this all about, Jeff?
So Kilimanjaro, it's a mountain in Africa, for those who are unaware. It's the tallest mountain in Africa. It's one of the 7 summits, meaning that the tallest summit on each of the continents, and that one is Africa's. It's 19,341 feet tall, if you want to keep score, which we should. And it's been on my bucket list almost since childhood. I took Swahili in college, which was a completely unrelated story, but that's the language of Tanzania and Africa. Which is the mountain straddles those two countries in Eastern Africa, Tanzania and Kenya. And then, I've been a hiker, the White Mountains, of course, in New Hampshire and all over Massachusetts. And it's so, but it all sort of came together starting in 2015 when I lost my brother-in-law to cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was one of those moments where, he was much too young. He was 46 when he passed, and the prognosis it was 2 years coming. It was out of nowhere. He was losing some weight, had some stomach issues, and then went to the doctor, and they ran tests and more tests, and they said, you have stage 4 cancer. It's fully metastasized. Mm-hmm. It took everybody by surprise. And so when he passed, when he was 46, it feels selfish, but you can't help but kind of take stock of your own mortality.
Of course.
Yeah, and say, whoa, well, there's a lot of things I still want to do. And so it was about 6 months later, I was doing an event. Our buddy Tim Weisberg was there, and we were raising money for this historic haunted building. And a friend of mine from the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society was there, and she said, Jeff, we have a new fundraiser coming up. And I said, oh, Amy, I'll help if I can, but I'm really, really busy. And she said, we're going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
Ooh.
And I just froze in my tracks. I said, well, she didn't know I just lost my brother-in-law a few months earlier. She didn't know that I spoke some Swahili. She didn't know that I'm a hiker and that I've been thinking about that mountain for years. And so, suddenly the universe presents something on a golden platter, raise money for cancer research,
Oh, my God. I think he put that in your lap. The good Lord put that right there for you, Jeff.
And sometimes it's just, when the fruit's hanging that low.
Yep.
You're going to pick it. And so I just said, Amy, I'm in. Let's do this. And so I started training, and I was put together with 4 other strangers to me at the time, all from New England. None of us knew each other. We were just going to go do this trip together, and we trained all through the winter, and then finally got the chance to go over to Tanzania in March of 2017.
We are with Jeff Belanger, the author of his latest. How many books do you have? A dozen or
15 now.
15 now. The Call of Kilimanjaro: Finding Hope Above the Clouds. Now, let me just back up a half an inch, Jeff. What hope are you talking about above the clouds? Tell me about that subtitle.
Yeah, so when you're in the middle of your life, it's a funny thing, right? I mean, somewhere in the middle, that's a wide berth. Unless, of course, you have cancer, and then you don't know where the middle is. So it's one of these things where I realized my life was kind of in a rut, and my life is pretty interesting. I mean, I've got a cool job, and I get to do really neat things and travel, but still, I mean, it's a rut of my own design, but still a rut. I've got to cut the lawn and get the kid off to school and get the oil changed on the car and do my job and pay my bills and do it all again tomorrow, like everybody else.
Yep.
And so you realize that, like, you get kind of comfortable, and so the hope thing comes from actually the summit night, the very last night we're on the mountain. Keep in mind, it takes 6 days to get to the top.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we're going a total of like 43 miles of all on your feet, from start to finish. And so 6 days to get to the top, 2 days to get back down. And by the time I was making for the summit, when we start at midnight in the dark, and it's an Arctic tundra up there. Down below at the bottom, it's a rainforest. It's always warm. Because we're right near the equator. And at the time, and then you go through the seasons in the span of 6 days. Where it gets to be like brisk fall, and then early winter, and then the top is just the coldest I've ever been.
Wow!
And I'm from New England.
Yep. Yeah.
This is where coming from New England comes in handy. They said, "Oh yeah, you're going to have clothes for all 4 seasons in the span of 6 days." And I said, "Shoot, we can do that on a Tuesday in New England."
Yeah.
You wake up and it's frigid, and by noon it's 80, and by dinner time it's fall again. So. But anyway, so when you're at about 18,000 feet, it is so difficult to breathe, Phil.
Oh my God!
There's just the air is not with you, and so the analogy, those little coffee stirrers you get at the diner with the tiny little straws.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So put one of those in your mouth and just breathe through that.
I would die. I couldn't.
You'd be okay if you stood still and you were calm, but then walk and try to breathe.
Impossible. Yep.
That's what you start. That's what it feels like. Just not enough air. And so at some point, I really felt like I was going to have to quit. I was going to have to turn back, and that was devastating to me because I'd been planning and dreaming about this and training for it. And keep in mind, clouds like to live around 10,000 feet, so we spent days above the clouds, and it was just so calming. The hope part was something that was sort of found. It wasn't an objective. It was just sort of found in a sunrise on that summit night. Just not being able to breathe, being so very cold. And I've been hiking in sub-zero in New Hampshire in January. I know cold, and I can handle it usually. And but just being that tired and feeling like all is lost, and then the sun comes up and the whole world warms up 15, 20 degrees, and you see this incredible, beautiful event that's taken place every single day for millions and millions of years, right, since before humans could even see it. And everything changed in just a simple sunrise, just like hope was found there. And in that moment, I knew I was going to make it to the summit, even though there was another hour to go.
Wow. Jeff, I want to tell you, listening to you, I was just thinking of the death of your brother-in-law. Was the cold, was the negative of this, was the part of you that said, quit now. And the sunrise is the part of his death that is telling you it's okay. It really is okay.
There's tropes in writing, like man versus himself, man versus nature, man versus man, and all that other stuff. And you realize that this was very much a man versus himself. Man versus nature is silly because nature wins 100% of the time. It's undefeated, right? Like, you'll get your licks in, but in the end, right?
Yes.
Nature wins 100% of the time. But so I realized, like, putting yourself into really difficult conditions, climbing up in the cold, in the darkness, with very little air. You go through this sort of transformative experience, and somewhere around 3:30 in the morning, I've had a dialogue in my head going my whole life. It never stops.
Yeah.
Always chatter, chatter, chatter. And around 3:30 in the morning, it just went quiet. And I went, oh, that's either very good or very bad. And to this point, even today, I couldn't tell you if it was good or bad, but it got quiet, and I realized this is out of my hands now. This is up to a higher power. And the Maasai people and the Chaga people, who both live around the mountain on the Kenya side and the Tanzania side, they have a word for the top of the mountain that roughly translates to the house of God, or where God dwells. And you have to understand how foreign it is up there, even to them. I mean, it's warm all the time. It's a rainforest. It's equatorial Africa, and up there at the top, it's white. There's snow. Like, it never snows down at the bottom, never ever, right?
Yep.
But up there, it's so out of touch, out of reach. Those people have never touched snow, but they see it on the top of that mountain. And so it's just this amazing thing. By the time I got up there, I felt this enormous presence in that sunrise that I would call God or the universe, the spirit of the mountain, whatever term you wish to use. There was this moment where I felt that I was worthy. And not only was I worthy, I was welcomed. And it was a big,
holy
huge
mackerel, man. I just got goosebumps all over.
You should be there.
Oof. Jeff, oh my gosh. I can see a change coming in Jeff Belanger's life from this point forward, a depth that you've never had before. Let me ask you, were you spiritually connected before this? You probably believed in God, but were you on the same level that you are right now?
No, definitely not. And it was not, I'm not anti-religious or anything. I was raised Catholic in the interest of full disclosure, and sort of wandered away from the church after high school, as many of us do, but found some interesting spirituality in my pursuit of ghosts and haunted places, and realizing that, there's this very tangible need we have to connect with something that is beyond this mortal plane, right? And yet this thing that I went through in Africa was transformative, both physically, because I had to train for it and prepare for it physically, mentally. But then, sometimes you have to earn something like that.
Sure.
You can't take a tram to the top. There's no way up there except to walk. And there's something so primal about what I did for 6 days. No cell service, no Wi-Fi, no electricity, it's just you walk, you eat, you sleep, and you get to the next camp, and you keep moving. And life got so very simple. And quiet. There's no pollution up there. There's no light pollution. There's no noise pollution. Small aircraft can't fly that high. Large aircraft don't go over the mountain. It's too much turbulence. They go around it. So there's no sounds from cities or rails or trains, and the air is just the cleanest I've ever breathed. And when the sun goes down at night and you're on the Shira Plateau, I've never seen so many stars in my life. I mean, you tilt your head back and you're in space. There's no perspective of anything but stars. And there's the Milky Way, and there's the Southern Cross that you can only see in the Southern Hemisphere. And it was just absolutely breathtaking. And I realized just being unplugged, staying away from, the day one, I'm worried about email I'm missing and work and voicemails and texts and who's trying to reach me. Is my family okay? All that stuff. And by day 3 or so, I realized there was just kind of like this peacefulness that was settling over me. And I didn't expect it.
Yep.
And I realized it was just being away from all that technology for a few days was having a really calming effect.
Jeff, do you have any idea how fortunate you are to have had your feet on the welcome mat of God's home? Do you have any idea? Everybody around the world would love to be in that position.
Yeah, no, I do have an idea. It's it was such a profound experience, and I get that it wasn't cheap. Not everyone can afford to do this.
No.
And all that other stuff. I recognize all of that, but it was, and not only that, and I felt guilty. I've got a family, and I'll tell you right now, the whole trip cost about $6,500, which is not chump change to me. Like that had to be saved up, and
right.
And the whole thing, and so. And I felt, I'm like, that's a vacation my whole family could have taken, but it's just for me, it's just me going, and I felt guilty about that. But I feel like I came back a better version of myself than when I left.
Then it was worth it.
It was an investment in myself, and it was worth it. It was well worth it. And not only that, I would go again tomorrow.
Boy, would I love to be alongside you, Jeff Belanger. The title is The Call of Kilimanjaro, Finding Hope Above the Clouds. Jeff, we have to do this again. You have no idea how meaningful your appearance was this morning.
Thank you so much, Phil. I appreciate spending some time with you. Thanks for letting me relive this amazing experience.
Oh, man, I'll tell you, you just made our day. We stretched because you stretched. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. We'll be right back, folks. Don't go away.